My name is Bereket Kebede. I'm a senior lecturer at the School of International Development. This group focuses on what's called behavioral economics. Behavioral economics is a branch of economics recently developed in the last 20-30 years, which tries to combine insights from psychology in order to understand, strengthen the predictive power of economics. So for example, in conventional economics, individuals are assumed as if they are hyper-rational. They can do very complicated complications. They solve many problems, but we know in reality, human beings are limited in their computational capacity. So this insight is incorporated into economic theory. A related methodology that is used both by behavioral economics and other branches of economics is what's called experimental economics. And in experimental economics, essentially the basic idea is to look at people's decision in an incentivized situation. So instead of asking people what they think about something, you make them to make decisions based on actual amounts of money they earn in those decisions. So because they either lose or gain money, so the idea is you would get a much better understanding of how people decide by using this kind of experimental game. So behavioral and experimental economics combines these two insights from psychology and the use of experimental methods. I don't have the time to go through all this research that are being undertaken by the members of this research group. So what I will do is I will give you a flavor of what type of research we do by drawing examples from one research project I personally am involved in. This research project is called Envy and Agricultural Innovations, and we are using data from Ethiopia. And what we are trying to analyze, to examine, is whether envious preferences, if people envy other people, these envious preferences affect the adoption of agricultural innovations. In order to, so essentially, if people are envious of other people, it can have a good effect if people who envy others try to emulate them and improve their condition, improve let's say their agricultural productivity as the other people they envy them. So envy may have this kind of beneficial effect. But on the other hand, if people who are envying other people, who are better than them, do things which are destructive, which hurt the other people they envy, then envy will have a destructive effect. Now our research particularly focuses on this destructive, potentially destructive effect of envy. And what we do is we use, as I already mentioned, we use an experimental game where we give actual amounts of money to farmers in Ethiopia. They do certain decisions. I will not go to the details of those decisions, but they give them the chance to use their own money, to pay their own money in order to decrease the money of others. So if they do that, then this have a destructive effect. So we used this kind of experimental game called a money burning game to see whether people are willing to devote their own resources to decrease the resource of the others. And using this information, we saw whether these decisions, whether this behavior among the farmers of Ethiopia are related with the agricultural innovation, actual real life innovation, like the use of fertilizer, like the use of irrigation, like the use of improved seeds, whether this behavior affects the way they adopt these agricultural innovations. And we find a significant relationship between these preferences. Now, in conventional economics, usually this type of what are called social preferences are ignored. What we feel about the conditions of others are usually ignored in conventional economic analysis. But through insights in behavioral economics, through using the method of experimental economics, we are showing that the attitude of people on the wealth, on the income of others, how that affects agricultural innovation is shown by this research study. So this is one illustration of how our research group uses insights from behavioral and experimental economics to understand development problems. So the ENVI project I told you about is only one example from the many examples of research we do in this research group. For example, in one project, we look at how intra-household allocation of money within households between husbands and wife affects welfare. So we use data from India, from Uganda, from Ethiopia, and from Nigeria to understand how decision making within the household between husbands and wives affects agricultural innovation as well as other welfare outcomes. Other members of the group look at, let's say, the effect of malaria on labor productivity. In Nigeria, there is a study looking at health interventions in Rwanda and in Ethiopia. There is one specific project looking at how a national park in Rwanda can be conserved so that the people living around that national park are not going to exhaust the natural resources. And we are using also some experimental games in order to understand the behavior of the people living around that area. There is a lot more than the ones I have mentioned. There are also other projects which use ideas from both behavioral and experimental economics in development.